waiting. I'm just waiting for Cam. Yep. There we go. Good evening, everyone. I welcome the gallery and those watching our meeting online. And our meeting is open at 6 p.m. The public is advised that it is council policy to record the proceedings of meetings of council on digital media to assist in the preparation of minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of meetings is available. This audio recording is authorised by the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025. I would also like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Tomagina people, and to pay our respect to those that have passed before us, their history and their culture. Item 1, record of attendance. Item 1.3, we have leave of absence previously approved. Kevin Highland and Councillor Kevin Highland and Councillor Leanne Raw. Welcome this evening, Kevin. Yeah. Item 2, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. There is a recommendation before you, councillors, that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Waratah Wynyard Council held at Council Chambers, 21 Saunders Street, Wynyard, on Monday, the 16th of March 2026, a copy of which, having previously been circulated to councillors prior to the meeting, be confirmed as a true and correct record. Could I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Roberts has moved. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bramage, seconded. Are there any corrections, amendments or questions relating to these minutes? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. 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 Against? Carried unanimously. Declarations of interest. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest relating to this agenda this evening? And staff, are there any items that need to be recorded? Item 4, councillors' announcements and reports. 4.1, announcements by the Mayor. I have none this evening. And 4.2, Mayor's communications. The recommendation before you, councillors, is that council notes the Mayor's communications. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Edwards, could I have a seconder, please? Seconded. Councillor Roberts. Are there any queries or questions about my activities over the past month?
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Mayor. Without putting you on the spot, and if you don't the answer tonight, it's LGAT Learning and Development Subcommittee. What's that to get a new program going?
It's moving the new program onwards, and working with the state government, where the reform has actually made it very difficult, excuse me, for the learning and development program to be out there for any candidates. So it's going to be slightly different. However, there are 3 new modules. And for the benefit of those in the gallery, there are about 13 modules that any elected representative is required to complete in the first year of being on council. And that goes for every single council and every new councillor. So there are requirements for you to have undertaken this training. Are there any? Sorry, yes.
To follow up on that, I believe the last lot of modules we've had as this council and other councillors, some councillors haven't done them. What's the penalty, if any penalty, with the new ones coming in? Is there going to be a penalty or just?
I believe there may be a penalty, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation is, sorry,
quick
Councillor.
comment about what's not up there. I want to thank our region for everyone that went out for Anzac Day. Everyone was out in force, and I was very fortunate enough to see your speech at Somerset at 9 and your speech in Wynyard at 11, and thanks to the councillors that got out and about as well and laid the reefs and did the speeches. So credit to you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Any further comments? No. I'm going to ask, Deputy Mayor Edwards, you moved the motion, and Councillor Roberts, you seconded. If there are no further questions, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. 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 Against? Carried unanimously. Item 4.4 is notification of council workshops. There are 3 workshops there, and could I have a mover for the motion? Sorry,
So moved.
Councillor Roberts. Could I have Councillor Johnson? Are there any questions regarding these 3 workshops? Any comments that anyone wishes to make? If not,
Can I just make a comment?
yes.
Yeah, just looking on the 23rd of March, we had the Elphinston Dairy. It was really engaging, and it's so good to go out into the community with other businesses around, and we've had other site visits as well, and it's really engaging between us, the council, and business owners. Yeah, it gives them a time to ask questions, or we learn more about their business. So yeah, it's really good. Thank you.
Didn't you were patting the key house?
Councillor Bramage.
Sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. If there are no further comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Item 5, public questions and statements. 5.1, responses to public questions taken on notice, nil received. Public questions received in writing, nil received. Public questions without notice and public statements received in writing. Public statements without notice. Before we begin this section, I'm going to read out a statement around what the council expects. The council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements. Consistent with council's core values, councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with respect and integrity. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in their dealings with council. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of council meetings and to ensure that the meeting is conducted in accordance with the council meetings procedures. This includes determining whether a question or statement is out of order due to the use of offensive, objectionable or defamatory expressions. In particular, the council meeting procedures relating to public questions and statements require that there is a time limit of 3 minutes per person to ask questions. A maximum of 3 questions may be asked per person. Any parts to questions are considered questions. All questions to be asked before a response is provided. Once a question is answered, there is to be no debate on the question. Public statements are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. There is to be no questions or discussions related to the statement. I ask members of the public to show proper consideration and courtesy in their comments. So, who have we got first?
Doesn't matter. I guess you could ask this gentleman, Justin.
Okay, Mr. McCurlin, would you come forward, please?
I've got 3 separate statements. Is it 3 minutes for all of them, or
3 minutes per statement.
by each one? Just okay. So I'm going to. The first one is relating to Project Marinus. Thank you, Mayor Dunham and councillors. I'm speaking today as a resident, a ratepayer, and a former executive member of Business Northwest to respectfully outline my opposition to item 8.1. While I understand that major infrastructure projects generate community discussion, we must ask ourselves whether this chamber is the appropriate forum to debate state and federal energy policy. As a local council, our mandate is to manage the services, infrastructures and well-being of Waratah Wynyard. Passing motions of no confidence on multi-jurisdictional energy projects falls well outside the core business of local government. When we look at the facts regarding local impact, the premise of this motion requires correction. The motion claims our municipality will bear the brunt of road damage and infrastructure wear. Factually, neither Marinus Link nor Stage 1 of the Northwest Transmission Development has physical infrastructure going through the Wynyard municipality. The primary impact we will see locally is positive. Our residents driving to well-paid jobs and our local businesses supplying the project chain. Regarding the final investment decision being signed during caretaker period, it is important to understand the commercial realities at play. If the FID deadline had slipped, Tasmania would have lost its contracts and its place in the global manufacturing queue. Furthermore, missing that deadline would have triggered hundreds of millions of dollars in penalties. Signing it was not a matter of secrecy, it was a commercial necessity to protect taxpayers from severe financial penalties. While discussing economic risks, we must also weigh the catastrophic cost of doing nothing. Many of the communities will remember 2016, when the business Basslink cable failed for 6 months. The outage, the Tasmanian economy is estimated at $560 million. Marinus Link provides the crucial redundancy and energy security needed to ensure our local economy is never exposed to that level of risk. We must also consider the future of local employment. Proposed developments like the HIF e-fuels project represent up to 600 construction jobs and 200 long-term operational roles with a 40-year lifespan. HIF has explicitly stated they require 300 megawatts of power and cannot proceed without Marinus Link. Opposing this project means inadvertently opposing the creation of hundreds of real local jobs. Finally, on the matter of oversight, the claim that this project is unscrutinised is simply incorrect. Marinus Link has undergone years of rigorous assessment by independent expert bodies, including the Australian Energy Market Operator, Clean Energy Finance Corporation, and the Australian Energy Regulator, whose specific mandate is to protect the consumers. Furthermore, the state's equity liability has been capped at $103.5 million. The Cradle Coast Authority recent local prosperity report explicitly highlights the strategic benefits of Marinus Link. Noting it will increase our regional's data capacity 150-fold, enabling a new high-tech knowledge economy. We should be aligning with the regional strategies we have already endorsed. Councillors, I respectfully urge that you to let the commercial regulators, the State Treasurer and the energy experts manage this project. I ask you to vote against this motion so that we can return to Council's valuable time and resources to local matters. Thank you. Second one is relating to 8.2, Guaranteed Living Income Pilot. Thank you, Mayor Dunningham and councillors. I speak to you tonight as a resident, ratepayer and former executive member of Business Northwest to formally outline my opposition to 8.2. As many of you likely saw in today's edition of The Advocate, this exact motion has drawn direct commentary from one of Tasmania's most respected economists, Sol Eastlake. Mr. Eastlake provided a vital fact-based reality check regarding the economic mechanisms of a guaranteed living income. He clearly explains that such a scheme cannot be implemented in Australia without substantial, across-the-board tax increases. He noted that countries with similar models fund them through a GST of 20% or more, alongside payroll, social taxes between 15 and 25%. To quote Mr. Eastlake directly from today's paper regarding those schemes, how they're funded, people advocating for UBIs in Australia are really honest about that. Speaking from a local business perspective, we must consider what a 20% GST and a 15 to 20% payroll tax would practically mean for Waratah Wynyard. It would place an immense and likely unsustainable financial strain on our local cafes, retail stores, and our regional employers. We cannot build true economic resilience in the community by supporting macroeconomic policies that would severely pressure the small business that keep our town alive. It's also important to view tonight's agenda holistically. Earlier during 8.1, the Marinus project, we saw a motion seeking to oppose our infrastructure projects that unlocks hundreds of real well-paying jobs for our region. If our shared goal is to alleviate local poverty incubators, we cannot strategically oppose major job-creating industries on one hand, while simultaneously seeking to pilot income support programs on the other. Sustainable economic health is built by welcoming investment and supporting robust local employment. Finally, I respectfully direct your attention to the clear advice provided by your own council officers in tonight's agenda. They explicitly state that the program of this scale involves large-scale social and economic reform, requiring legislative authority that sits primarily within the remit of state and federal governments. Furthermore, your officers clearly point out that local groups like Live Well Tasmania are already doing excellent work exploring this space. This report concludes that there is limited strategic benefit in council duplicating these efforts. This is the third time since 2023 that variations of the concept have been presented to the Chamber. Councillors, I ask that you heed the advice, guidance of your expert staff and leading economists. I respectfully urge you to vote against the motion so that Council's valuable time and resources can remain focused on the core municipality responsibles who rely on you to deliver. Okay, last one. This is an item 8.3, National Road Safety Week. Thank you, Mayor Dunham and councillors. I speak tonight as a resident and ratepayer to formally express my strong support for item 8.3 regarding National Road Safety Week. When evaluating a council agenda, it's vital to distinguish between matters that belong in state or federal jurisdictions and matters that are core foundational responsibility of local government. Item 8.3 is a textbook example of exactly what this council should be focusing its time and resources on. From a strictly factual and financial perspective, this motion represents exceptional value for the ratepayer. We're looking at an indicative funding allocation of $5,000 to $2,500 per year. In the context of our broader municipality budget, this is a very small spend for a highly significant result. It proves that strict fiscal discipline and genuine community care can and should go hand in hand. In a regional municipality like Waratah Wynyard, road safety is not an abstract policy debate. It is a daily physical reality. Our roads are the lifelines that connect our local workforce, our industry, and our families. Because of this, the devastating rippling effects of road trauma place a heavy burden on our local emergency responders and our community as a whole. I specifically commend point 4 of this motion, which takes the Memorandum of Understanding this Council signed in August 2024 and turns it into a tangible, on-the-ground action by partnering with our local schools. Factually engaging our youth is the most evidence-based approach to long-term harm reduction. Whether they are students walking to school or young adults learning to drive, they are the most vulnerable road users. By proactively educating them now, we are building a generation culture of safety that will protect our community for decades. Councillors, this is a practical, measured and highly impactful municipality governance. I commend Councillor Edwards for bringing this fact-based, community-focused initiative forward, and I respectfully urge the Chamber to give it your full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Chloe Foster, if you come forward, please.
Thank you, Mayor Dunnigan and councillors. I appreciate the opportunity to address the Chamber tonight. My name is Chloe Foster and I'm speaking tonight as a resident and ratepayer of Waratah Wynyard on motion 8.1 Project Marinus. Firstly, I want to acknowledge that this is a complex and at times divisive issue in our community. There are people with very strong and sincerely held concerns about the project, particularly around the government's transparency and costs and oversight, and those concerns deserve to be heard and respected. Equally, there are members of our community who support the project, particularly for its potential to drive economic growth, enable developments like the proposed HIF e-fuels project, and create local jobs and improve Tasmania's broader data connectivity and capacity. It is also worth noting that at a regional level, the Cradle Coast Authority, partially funded by the Waratah Wynyard Council, published the report Local Power, Local Prosperity, highlighting the strategic benefits enabling future industry. I rise tonight as I believe it is important that our council stays grounded in both fact and governance. When we look to the facts regarding local impact, part of the premise of this motion does require some correction. There is a claim that our municipality will bear the brunt of road damage and infrastructure wear. However, as it stands, neither Marinus Link nor Stage 1 of the Northwest Transmission Development includes physical infrastructure within the Waratah Wynyard local government area. The more likely local impact is indirect and potentially positive through employment opportunities and local business participating in the broader supply chain. But all of that aside, I think we need to be very clear about where decisions like this sit. Project Marinus is not a local government project. It is a state and federal infrastructure and energy policy matter assessed by independent regulators and determined at levels of government above this chamber. And that's where I feel uneasy about this motion. Because when council passes a vote of no confidence on something that it does not ultimately control and acknowledges that it does not have the full information to access, there is a risk that we unintentionally send a message to the community that the council can influence a project beyond what is reality. For those who are strongly opposed, that can create a sense of hope that isn't aligned with how decisions are made. And over time, that risks deepening the frustration within our community rather than resolving it. I think it's important that we reflect on the role of local government. Council has a critical job to do, managing local infrastructure, services, planning and community wellbeing. That is where the real authority and real impact of council is seen. So my position tonight is not about asking anyone to take a particular side on the Marinus project itself. It's about being clear on governance, being honest with our community about where local government influence sits, and being careful not to unintentionally mislead people or to raise expectations that this chamber cannot meet. Because in a community already divided on this issue, I believe that matters. Thank you. And I do have a second statement prepared. This statement is in support of Councillor Edwards' National Road Safety Week motion. And I thank you again for the opportunity to make a contribution. I'm speaking tonight again as a ratepayer within the Waratah Wynyard community. And road safety is something that impacts everyone in our community, in all communities. Initiatives like the National Road Safety Week provide an important opportunity to raise the awareness, promote safer behaviours and acknowledge the very real consequences of road trauma for individuals, families and our community. I commend the active and heartfelt role that Councillor Edwards takes in this most important subject. I want to briefly speak to the practical side of delivering an event for the National Road Safety Week. Through my experience in delivering community events across the Northwest Coast, including Bernie's New Year's Eve celebrations over the past 3 years, as well as events like the Bernie Christmas Parade and last year's Spark the Sky Carnival Night, amongst other things. I do work over in Bernie. I understand firsthand the level of planning, coordination and the cost involved in creating events that genuinely engage our community. Even modest initiatives require resourcing to be effective. For that reason, I would personally like to encourage councillors to support the full funding submission of $2,500 this year and moving forward. In the context of event delivery, this is a really small investment, but one that can deliver a strong return in terms of community engagement, awareness and impact. It is important that this is set up to succeed. This is a positive, practical initiative that builds on Council's existing commitments and delivers a clear benefit to our community. And I thank Councillor Edwards for her advocacy. I'm pleased to support this motion tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's for the planning set of questions. Well, you need to ask if anybody else wants to speak.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak from the gallery this evening, please? Would you like to come forward, please? Could I have your name, please?
Mark Grining. I'm
Sorry?
a ratepayer in Wynyard municipality. Mark Grining. Sorry.
Right.
Mark Ryan.
Thank you for the opportunity to address in the meeting. I'm speaking on behalf of my family, especially my autistic son. We're owners of 26 Gibbon Street, directly adjacent to the proposed child care centre. I asked Mayor Dunham and councillors, we'll be asking you to delay the decision of the rezoning and proposed development of the childcare centre until next council meeting. We've been in touch with the council's strategic projects manager, Gary Neal, and organised an on-site meeting to discuss our concerns about this development. Unfortunately, due to Gary being on leave, the meeting will not take place until Monday, the 4th of May. And as stated by the council, the previous owners were given an opportunity to engage with the council about the development and their concerns, but when we purchased the property, we weren't told about this information. The previous property owners' action from the post-meeting was to sell the property and move on, so the development would be somebody else's concern, which is now my concern and my family's concern. After this up-and-coming meeting on May the 4th, we feel that our concerns are suitably dealt with, then we formally withdrew our representation to the proposed rezoning and development related to this childcare centre, the 5th to 7th George Street, Wynyard. This will in fact speed up the process for approval for the developer, which is the council. I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Are there any further speakers this evening, please? I thank the gallery for their input. And now we'll move on to item 6, which is the Planning Authority items. The time is 6:26 as we go into a Planning Authority. 6.1, public questions without notice. We have not received any public statements relating to planning matters. We have not received those either. Item 6.3, there is a recommendation before you, councillors, that council, in accordance with section 51 and section 57 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the Tasmanian Planning Scheme Waratah Wynyard, grants approval for a dwelling extension at 36 Banksia Avenue, Sisters Beach, subject to a list of conditions. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
So moved.
Councillor Roberts has moved. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Johnson. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to open the debate, please?
Well, just very simply, it's considered that the proposed dwelling extension complies with either the acceptable solution or satisfies the performance criteria for all applicable standards of the planning scheme. So we are left in but no position to approve it, so we shall do exactly that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any speakers against this motion? Are there any further speakers to the motion? Deputy Mayor Edwards?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the impact of the DA on adjoining properties with the size and location of the extension is reasonable and complies with the low density residential provision under the applicable codes for Tasmanian planning scheme. The main thing was the privacy, and I know on the south side there's a 5 metre setback on there, so yeah, I think it sits well within what should make it acceptable.
Are there any further speakers to this motion? The motion was put by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Johnson. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 6.4, application for planning scheme amendment, PSA 2/2025 for 57 George Street, Wynyard, and proposed childcare centre, DA 104/2025, section 40K report. There is a recommendation before you, councillors, that council, in accordance with S40K1 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, forwards a copy of this report to the Tasmanian Planning Commission and advise that one representation was received during the public advertising of PSA 2/2025 and DA 104/25. In accordance with S40K2A of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, Council provides the Tasmanian Planning Commission a copy of the representation received during the public advertising of PSA 2/2025 and DA 104/2025. Item 3, that in accordance with sections S40K2C of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, Council advises the Tasmanian Planning application that it is satisfied that Planning Scheme Amendment PSA 2025 meets the LPS criteria. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Bramage.
Question, if I may.
You have to move it before you can have
That's right.
questions.
Do you want me to move it and then defer the motion?
Would you not talk across the chamber? We need a mover
I'll
for,
move it.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
And could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it then.
Councillor Bramage.
Is there any chance that, I know this is planning, so obviously it's not necessarily saying that we could defer this until Gary can speak?
If you could speak up, please.
Is there any chance that we could defer this until the representative has a chance to speak to council staff about that site? And I know it would probably throw a spanner in the works, but I think it's only fair, since our staff is away, that we would provide equity to this member of our community.
Jasmine, if you could respond,
Yep,
please.
Through the chair, Mayor, this one's a little bit unusual in that council, as the applicant, as a corporate entity for the childcare, is different in this situation as council as the permit authority or the planning authority. So when we're looking at things from the Tasmanian Planning Commission, unlike traditional planning applications that would come up, the one we just had, where council makes the decision and then if there's a review it goes to the appeals tribunal down in Hobart to review council's decision. The Tasmanian Planning Commission are actually the people that make the decision in the first place. It's not just a review. We've got a requirement under the Act to provide the documentation within 35 days of the end of the advertising period, which is the documentation up in front of council at the moment. The advertising period ended on the 31st of March. So if we were to defer it to the next meeting, we would need to seek leave from the Tasmanian Planning Commission to know that we've got additional time. The danger would be that we would defer it and then the Tasmanian Planning Commission would not consider it reasonable to provide additional time in the circumstances, when the typical process would be that if there was some concerns about the project, that once it got up to the Tasmanian Planning Commission, there is a hearing, and that is when the developer, which in this case is council as a corporate body, and anyone who's got concerns about it, have the opportunity within that area or prior to that meeting to discuss any changes at that stage. So in my view, the Tasmanian Planning Commission would be likely to say that there's sufficient opportunity during the hearing process to discuss these concerns and that it's not necessary to defer the motion. So we could choose to do it, but there's no guarantee that we would obtain consent to extend our 35-day time frame beyond what is in legislation.
I'm happy.
That response, are you happy with that response?
I'm happy to move along with this motion and go along with it on the proviso that, again, the representative will have the platform to have their say as is fair and equitable. So that is all I'm asking for. So thank you.
Okay, are there any further speakers to this motion, please?
Thank you.
Councillor Bramage?
I would like, along with Councillor Roberts, some discussion with Mr. Ryan somewhere down the track, or wherever, whenever. But I mean this in a respectful way. I find it hard to imagine when someone's away on leave, there's no one else to take their place that he could have talked to. Because if someone's on leave, that doesn't mean this council stops. I wouldn't have thought so. But anyway, I guess I'll take our planner's lead on this and say this is the best way to go. Would that be correct, you think?
It's the way it's prescribed by the legislation.
Right, yep. So I guess I'm happy to support it, but I do sympathise with Mr. Ryan and like I would like someone to talk to him.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage. Mr. Summers, you wish to respond?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. As our planning officer has described, council is the corporate body behind the development here, and we have a project manager who had unexpected leave, who's committed to meeting. Council, aside from being a planning authority, can have discussions with a landholder around matters of the development freely outside of the planning process. And there is a meeting, I think, described for 4th of May, where those usual consultation processes can occur. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions around this motion? Anyone wish to speak against the motion?
I'll close the motion. I'll just say,
Please do.
we as a council and as planning authority would observe the extenuating circumstances in this, and especially with us being the entity that has placed the DA. And I just genuinely will, whilst proceeding with this, I hope that we will keep our word and provide equity to Mr Grining to provide his representation to our staff as appropriate. So we will proceed with this, and I would hope to be updated that we have actually done our due diligence on this and given every member of our community a fair chance to present. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. If there are no further speakers, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 6.5, application for planning scheme amendment, PSA 1-2024 for Golf Links Road, Wynyard and associated 12-lot subdivision, SD 2191, Section 40K report. The recommendation is that Council, in accordance with S40K1 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, forwards a copy of this report to the Tasmanian Planning Commission and advise that one representation was received during the public advertising of PSA 1-2024 and SD 2191. In accordance with S40K2A of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, Council provide the Tasmanian Planning Commission a copy of the representation received during the public advertising of PSA 2-2025 and SD 2191, and that in accordance with sections S40K2C of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993, Council advises the Tasmanian planning application that it is satisfied that planning scheme amendment PSA 1-2024 meets the LPS criteria. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Roberts has moved. Could I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Councillor Hyland has seconded. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to open the debate, please?
Just again to state that as wearing our planning authority hat, that as is the recommendation, as per the legislation, we will follow the requirements. So I'm happy to move this one through as well.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any speakers against the motion? Are there any further speakers for the motion? If not,
No, just briefly, Mayor, I reckon it'd be fantastic for our region, area, whatever you want to say, a bit of country living close to town. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Bramage. Are there any further speakers?
I'll just close. I just want to join my fellow councillor Bramage in saying that we do feel for all the representatives. It's probably the hardest part of our job up here is as the planning authority to follow things such black and white stringently, legislatively, and following regulatory requirements. So we do feel for everyone. We are human. We want to see people, achieve the things they want to achieve, and unfortunately we cannot accommodate every single person, which is the sad part of this job. So I just want to state that we do feel for the representatives and we do empathise with them, but as is a requirement of our job, we just must do what is necessary. So thank you very much, Mayor Duniam.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. That is the end of our planning authority, which is closed at 6:38. Item 7, matters raised by councillors. Responses to councillor questions taken on notice.
We didn't vote on that last one.
Oh, did we? Crikey. Thank you. I must be in a hurry. I'm going to put the motion that I omitted to call a vote on. So all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. So we're still closed at 6:38. Thank you very much. Item 7, matters raised by councillors. 7.1, responses to councillor questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. 7.1.1, Councillor Edwards, Sister Speech Working Group. There is an officer's response there for your question. 7.1.2, Councillor Edwards, vandalism costs, with a response as well. 7.1.3, Councillor Courtney, ambulance transfers. There is an officer's response, plus a copy of the letter that the Minister for Health did provide. Moving on to 7.2, Councillor questions received in writing, none have been received. Councillor questions without notice. Are there any councillor questions without notice, please? If not, we can move on to item 8. Item 8, notice of motion 8.1, Councillor Courtney, the Project Marinus. The motion is that Council writes to Premier Rockcliffe formally recording that Waratah Wynyard Council, as elected stewards of its community, has no confidence in the Marinus Link final investment decision in the absence of full, independent, verifiable information. Calls on the Premier to either declare Project Marinus a project of state significance or release the full, unredacted whole-of-state business case. Forwards this resolution to all Cradle Coast Authority member councils and forwards this resolution to relevant state parliamentary crossbenchers and independents for their information. This motion is put forward by Councillor Courtney. Could I have a seconder for this motion, please?
I'll second it, absolutely.
And Councillor Roberts seconded. If you would like to open the debate, please, Councillor Courtney.
I would. I'll start by addressing some of the claims that were made tonight. First being that this is not in council purview because it's not part of council core business. Council core business was roads, rates and rubbish. We now have childcare centres, we now have business information, visitor information centres. We do a lot of stuff that is not council core business. So the argument that we need to stick to roads, rates and rubbish, well, that's gone by the wayside. We don't do that anymore. Local government has grown through the last couple of decades to do more than what we were originally implemented to do. So I don't see that that's an argument. One of the other arguments that was put forward was that this is about jobs and economic growth. Well, given that the project is based on a model from 2017's energy landscape, not the current energy landscape, I don't think that that's a valid argument either, because what we're saying is that this is about the short-term jobs to build the project, but who's caring about the fact that if the electricity costs go up by 40 to 60%, it'll put a lot of our businesses out of business. So to say that this is going to create jobs, well, that's in the short term for the building of it, but that does not address the long-term issues of employment if we have electricity prices that go through the roof. So I don't take that argument's a reasonable argument either. I understand that people are saying that, well, we had to go through with Marinus during caretaker period because there was a fine if we don't, and I've heard that a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I don't really think that's a consideration for tonight because we didn't sign the agreement, we didn't make the fine, we didn't sign it through caretakers when it's unconstitutional. That's not something for us to consider tonight. The claim that it's not going to do any damage to our roads, well, those trucks are going to come straight through our area. So while we're saying that the bulk of the project is being built in a different area, well, it's going to use our road transport section, so it is going to impact us. So there's a lot of claims being made that I don't think are valid arguments. So I'll just start with that. I'll go on to the fact that I'm putting it forward is because the more I look into it and the economic business cases that are put out, like companies like Delaware have said, there's a massive risk for our electricity to go up. That will impact our residents. That comes down to our community wellbeing. So that is council core business because we look after our community's wellbeing. And that means we need to make sure that they can afford their electricity bills. If we can see a project coming that we know is going to increase electricity bills, possibly by 40%, that is going to put our local businesses, our big businesses, out of business. They're not going to operate here. So are we building this to cater for the businesses to come that are going to be centred around AI? Are we looking after the businesses that are currently in our municipality that cannot afford a 40% electricity increase? And that's based on the figures that we have been given. Now, the figures that we've been given have been in a massively redacted report. The report's 400 pages and we got a 25-page executive summary that says, yeah, trust me, bro, the electricity prices are going to go down. I just like to look at a few facts. So we're supposed to be selling this electricity to Victoria as one of the states. Victoria has 100 new neighbourhood batteries that will be in before 2030. So that's big community batteries. We have Energy Victoria saying they are legislating 2.6 gigawatt community batteries by 2030, 6.3 gigawatt batteries by 2035. So they're going to be largely reliant on solar panel by the time this project's finished. 770 households in Victoria are expected to take up solar panels on their roofs between now and when the project finishes in 2029. Currently, 31% of Victorian homes have solar, and the state's goal is 65% of solar rooftops by 2030, 95% by 2035 when we're supposed to be selling our electricity back to them to make this massive profit. Now, they're basing this on 2017's energy landscape. Well, in the last 12 months, solar batteries have gone down by 35 to 70%. So we're operating on an energy landscape from nearly a decade ago when the costs go down by 70% in 12 months on batteries. Not only do the costs go down on batteries, but we're now looking at green hydrogen, we're looking at geothermal systems, which will be enhanced by 2026. We're looking at sodium-ion batteries instead of the ones that are current. The sodium-ion batteries have got an increased efficiency of an extra like 12% on top of the batteries we've already got. We've got large-scale batteries going in Victoria, and then we've got good old AI. So if AI comes in, which we all know it's already on its way, it's already here, a lot of the control of energy will be through automation. So as soon as those solar panels on the houses are not using the energy, the systems will shut down and feed it back into the grid. It's just the way it's going to happen. So I think we're basing the idea of Marinus on a 2017 understanding of the energy industry, and it's a decade later. The project's not going to hand up to scrutiny if we put this on the public record and we get a look at the business case. I think if we look at the business case, updated with the technology from today and not from 2017, this is not going to hold up, which is why I would like the report released. The idea that we shouldn't consider this because it's not something that is council core business. Our community wellbeing plan is something that says to us, we need to look after our community. What are we going to do when we all sit here and go, we had the opportunity to say, look, I'm not real confident in this until you prove independent oversight says the business case is true, or until you prove the business case to us that these jobs that you're going to make that are short-term AI jobs that are going to build the project, but are not going to provide ongoing jobs. If anything, if it does bring in the AI that's predicted, we will lose jobs. So we will have high electricity and we will have job losses. For us to sit here and say this is not part of council core business to consider this, to question the state and federal government is not part of council core business, bull plop. Bull plop, that is our role. We are the stewards of this community. If we think that the federal and the state government are doing something that is going to negatively impact our community, that is going to increase our electricity costs, that is going to put our businesses out of business because they can't afford it, that is absolutely within our remit. So the argument that this is not council core business, I don't even understand where that comes from. I'm going to let everybody tonight vote on what they think about the project and whether they think that it should get up and going. But the motion in front of you is very simple. Not that you don't have confidence in the project, not that we don't have confidence in the Rockcliffe government and what they're doing, but how can we possibly have confidence in this project in our backyard that's going to impact our electricity and our local businesses if we can't see the business case and there's no independent oversight? That's all the motion is. How can we have confidence if we can't see the unredacted business case and if there is no independent oversight? It is the biggest project in Tasmania state history, and it's not a project of state significance. Like, riddle me that, Batman. How does that work? That the biggest project in our state history with a whole of state business case is not a project of state significance. That is nonsensical. We can sit here and regurgitate the rhetoric that has been put out to promote the project, But until we see independent oversight, or until we see an unredacted business case, from all the reports that are out there, the electricity is going to go up. It will put our businesses under pressure, and it will affect our community wellbeing, and it will make our electricity prices higher. So to me, this is a simple no-brainer. We're just saying we've got no confidence until you prove the business case or until you give over independent oversight. You can argue the details all you like. You can argue whose remit it is all you like. But this is us looking after our community wellbeing. This is us being the stewards of this municipality and saying something doesn't add up here. So could you please prove the business case or give it independent oversight so it is viewed by the public and they can see what figures are being used, because I cannot see the figures being used from 2017 are genuinely proving the business case that they're trying to sell to us. So all I'm asking tonight, and it's up to all of you, like I'm not going to be bothered how you vote, because it says more about what you think your role is as a caretaker of this community than anything it says about me. I'm putting it up because I looked at it and went, it's going to put our electricity prices up. It's going to risk our local businesses. We don't have the business case. We don't have oversight. That's what we should ask for. So I can't see why it's so hard just to say, look, we don't have confidence until you prove the business case. I don't understand why it's so hard. I'll leave you with it.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Are there any speakers against this motion that's been put? Councillor Bramage,
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look,
for, against?
I am speaking against the motion. All due respects to what you've done.
Seconder, strictly speaking.
If it was worded different, I may have supported it. I just may have, but I don't want to be a party of this council sending a letter off with no confidence to the state. I don't think it's our place to say whether it should have been a state significant program or not. It's not our place to say that as a council. I wouldn't have thought. But just maybe if you'd have worded it, we want some answers. What would have come back would have been no. Ruth Forrest highlighted out in a email about how some things have got to be kept hush-hush for privacy reasons, and that's fair enough. We elected the government to make them decisions for us, whether it's Labor, Liberal or the Greens or Independents, it doesn't matter. What's going to happen if we send this letter off tomorrow and the Mayor gets in touch with Jeremy Rockcliffe next week for some money? He's going to go like that, isn't he? He mightn't do it public, but he will. He's human, the same as we are. Look.
That would be blackmail.
Excuse me, could we just
Well-
allow Councillor Bramage to finish?
Look, I understand, and I understand that politics are coming into this, and I think it's a sad day for our council if politics come into it. And I don't care what anybody says, in the 28 years I've been here, there's been no political stuff come out of this room. I'm only here for another few months, unless I get voted in or out, whatever. And while ever I'm here, there's no political shit going to come in here. And that's what this is. It's political. Look, Councillor Courtney, we all know you have got a problem with the state government and Jeremy Rockcliffe. But look, please
Not
don't,
relevant.
and I understand.
Point of order. That is not relevant to tonight. It is not a political motion.
Well,
It's not a political motion at all. It's incorrect to state that.
well, when we get telling the government what to do,
If I could just stop
oh,
you.
sorry.
I do accept your point of order, so if you could move on from the point that you were making, please, Gary.
Mayor, if I get out of line, throw that blooming hammer at me.
Okay.
You give me a smack too. I haven't got a problem. But I believe if we're getting to tell the government what to do in no confidence, it should be a state significant program we are making it political, in my view. So, look, I just can't support the motion how it's written. And as I said before, if it might have been written where we wanted some answers, and that's all, the answer would have been no, but I might have supported it. But I can understand the government got to keep things to a certain thing to themselves. We do here too. The different things in tenders and that sort of thing with names and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't think there's too much difference. And look, we've all got the community at heart. Every single one in this room, in their own way, whatever you want to say. We all care about the community. No one wants to see the power bills go up. I don't know they're going to go up. I don't think anyone can predict that yet.
In the business case.
Yeah.
So, look, it's all right to say Victoria's going battery, but if we see that program on TV other Sunday night about where they're getting this, whatever they make the batteries out of.
Cobalt's not in the current batteries.
Excuse me.
Well, point of order, that's referring to a misstatement by the media that is currently being corrected, because cobalt is not being used in the batteries currently.
Look. Well, you know how I feel now. I'm going to end my conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ramage. I apologise, Councillor Roberts. I should have allowed you to
I was just
speak
following
next.
proper process.
Now
is all.
you've been able to get your thoughts together.
I already had them. Thank you, Councillor Ramage. Look, this is an odd one for me because firstly I want to preface this. I'm a big supporter of major projects in Tasmania. I'm a massive supporter of them. Councillor Courtney and I have had endless discussion around the AFL stadium, etc., and we're completely on opposite ends of the spectrum there, and I'm a big supporter of it, and Councillor Courtney is not, but we can actually respectfully have our discussions and do so in a way that is based on trying to reach a common understanding. All right, so firstly, as a person that seconded this motion, I would like to state on record that I'm a big supporter of Marinus and I'm a big supporter of major projects and infrastructure in Tasmania. I find that we're behind in many ways and that unless we get our act together and start building, I think we'll be behind for a lot longer yet. Firstly, and secondly too, I just want to state as a person that's had a long time association with council off and on over the years that I do truly believe that going back to this thing about council's core business, I think that that's quite an outdated viewpoint, to be honest. I've found that council and community activation, community services, community engagement, advocacy, it's a huge part of what the modern council does. And it's quite an outdated, mentality to think that we do rates, roads and rubbish. I mean, if we do, then Alan might as well pack up. Mr Cattermole might as well not do his job, because why would we do community as a council if it wasn't a part of our core business, right? So even as a person that believes in big projects and supports big projects and definitely wants Marinus to go ahead and actually see it succeed, I do also actually understand and share in many of Councillor Courtney's concerns. Marinus is not something that's new to the table for me. I myself, over the last 4 years of my term on council, have attended renewable energy zone meetings. I've gone and spoken with employees of Marinus and actually tried to get as much information as I can so that I can understand. I have read the 396-page whole of state business case, and which is by our Department of Treasury and Finance. And ironically, our Department of Treasury and Finance raises a lot of these questions and concerns themselves in that whole of state business case. So I find it hard for people to say, leave it to the experts, when the experts are the ones that are raising these concerns. So I'll just, I'll read quickly the intro to the whole of state business case from the Department of Treasury and Finance in 2025. It's 396 pages, as I mentioned, and it says in its executive summary at the start that it aims to assist the Tasmanian Government in deciding whether Marinus Link Stage 1 and the associated on-island transmission network upgrades are in Tasmania's overall interests and should proceed. So that is the number one part of the whole state business case. So absolutely it's our job to sit here and discuss this as regional councils. Now, really the need for such a business case arises due to, and this is the number one concerning thing here, is the unique nature of Tasmanian government ownership of the vast majority of the state's electricity assets. Now, in most of the world, it's illegal for a government to run a private business or own assets that belong to the citizens. So it's a really unique case in Tasmania that the state government would have such a monopoly on our resources. That electricity does not belong to the government, it belongs to the citizens, all right, number one. So that is a big concern that even the Treasury and Finance Department recognises, okay? The second is that the legacy of the state's energy-intensive industries. Okay, so we are a primary production state. We have a lot of processing, even industries such as fisheries. People wouldn't think, but the processing, the factories require a lot of energy. So we've got to consider, the use of power in our state and the need for it as well. Now, whether we produce too much or too little is both of equal concern. Tasmania's relatively small economy, state budget and population, and the sheer scale of the investments. So our own Treasury Department and Finance Department recognises that Tassie has a small economy, it has a small population base. Now, halfway through this project, the debt load's projected to be about $23.9 billion. So it's not often where the debt load of a project annually would exceed our whole state's GDP. So that is very extremely concerning financially. So such characteristics are not present in other Australian jurisdictions. So there is nowhere else that is like this. And so, in addition, the potential impact of Marinus Link and other major energy projects on the electricity bills of Tasmanian customers is of major interest. And that is our own Treasury Department said that. Now, the whole of state business case also states the power bills are projected to go up $100 annually, minimum, for over $100 between 2030 and 2031 to 2049 to 2050 annually. So if people don't think this project won't increase the cost of the bills at home, absolutely it will, and it'll do so at an exponential rate that will outpace CPI or AAV, which is of massive concern considering the amount of people that live in Tasmania in poverty already. Now, the word risks mentioned 295 times in this report. It's one of the riskiest projects in Tasmanian history. All right, so also I want to credit just quickly with the words of others, such as the state, and also Ruth Forrest, a member of our Legislative Council, who wrote an incredible article a few days ago about the future of energy in this state, not just specifically relating to Marinus. But the last two paragraphs in her actual findings in her article were following. The government, minister and hydro need to be upfront with Tasmanians and explain how we are not sleepwalking into an energy future designed for someone else's benefit, by being honest about who captures the value and on what terms. So our independent member of our Legislative Council is gravely concerned about this, right? Secondly, it said, the last paragraph said, Hydro Tasmania is too important to this state for both renewable electricity and the state's finances to not ensure the full story of what the future may look like is clear for all Tasmanians. So we need to be clear what exactly this is. So whilst I support this project, I support it wholeheartedly. I would like nothing more than the 5,700 jobs to be created, and I would like nothing more for the $470 million of revenue that can potentially come into our state year on year. I do find it concerning the fact that the information is so, potentially misleading and also withheld. And so in regards to some of these comments, social advocacy, I want to see Marinus go ahead, but say it goes ahead and it costs our citizens and they are paying for the transmission lines through their own power bills. Their bills go through the roof, their costs go extreme, that I would at least want them to know that we as a council put forward that case to the government saying, just please explain. Now, also, just in relation to the other one about the universal basic income, whilst it might be, and it applies to this, I know, but it applies to this item of the agenda, that writing a letter and just stating whether we do or we do not support it or raising some questions is what I would call smart. that's been a smart operator, because we're putting it on record, our concerns on record, right? So, that is our job. We're constantly in communication. It is our job to be on top of these projects, our job to understand them. Claiming we do not understand these projects is no excuse. And this is a part of our job to understand these things, right? So I 100% want to see this project go ahead. I want to see the 5,700 jobs, as I've mentioned. I want the $470 million of revenue year on year. But I do have concerns about the truthfulness of some of the information that I have received. And so I would be willing to support this. And I also would like to put it on the record that in workshop, Councillor Courtney has mentioned that the wording of no confidence perhaps is a bit too strong, but it was too probably late to change the wording of the motion once it had been submitted. So this is really not to say no confidence, don't do it. It's more about putting forward the questions that we have and that we would like answered. And I think it's only fair to our constituents that we are the one to ask that question. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers? Deputy Mayor Edwards.
Yeah. We've got 4 points there. So firstly, I just want to say we've done our homework and we contacted Ruth Forrest. We've had correspondence from her that we've all seen in an email. But I just want to draw your attention to point 3, forward resolution to all CCA member councils. We are part of the CCA to advocate for our region, meaning we pay to be part of this for a stronger collective region. This point shows we are going against CCA, who published a report recently and which was endorsed by all councils. If we went with this motion, we would have to consider our position on the CCA and going against our region and what we all stand for and what we face losing, after recently having Bernie back in the fold. The motion overall throws out a lot of red flags to myself, which would impact many parts of our municipal area and bring a huge financial loss, with loss of funding and grants for projects loss and loss of jobs. And lastly, let's let those higher than our government level do their job in their position to hold the sitting government accountable. That those that sat within the Joint Select Committee on the Energy Matters, if I've said that right, Ruth Forrest and other MPs who were able to see the whole redacted copy. It is commercially sensitive and this is all confidential. So, yeah, I just think having Ruth up there with her knowledge and expertise and questions, I think, they're in the position to be able to hold the government to account and ask all those bigger questions for us, the ratepayers and the community.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Councillor Johnson.
I'm going to speak against this motion, and whilst I do not fully support Marinus Link, and whilst I do not fully support Robbins Island infrastructure and the support to Marinus Link, and thinking that there's a huge environment risk in that itself. However, as a councillor, I do not think that it is our role as a council to support this motion. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. Thank you.
Johnson. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Highland.
I nearly forgot how to do it, but anyway, I'm obviously going to vote against it. A couple of things, the comments that have been made during the course of tonight's debate. Power bills, there was an increase in right up to 2050, increase in power. But the question I'd ask is what happens in the business world out there while all this is going on? We attract new businesses, power increases naturally go up anyway. So the whole system just moves up. And this council is a small council, population of about 13,500. We certainly, over the last 15 to 20 years, have punched well above our weight in regard to infrastructure projects in our town. The way we've conducted ourselves with our financial long-term plan, our 10-year strategic plan, which we've stuck to all the way through, and continued with large infrastructure projects. Not many councils around the state can boast that. So to talk about core business, we just do a lot of stuff anyway. And it's certainly not our role, with a population of 13,500 and will be next year 7 councillors, representatives, to start telling the state government how to run their show, what to give us, what not to give us. They'll make that call. And I've said it 1,000 times in this room that until such time as we put a little bit of effort into expanding, the word I didn't really want to use was get a few councils together, get perhaps a regional council, so you've got a little bit of body and a little bit of bite if you want to make a statement. But up until then, we just need to get on with what we're about, is our local stuff, do that and do it well. One thing that, well, when all this started to hit the media, I've missed a couple of meetings, but one thing that all the bad press is out there in the Facebook stuff and whatever they do, but all the comments, don't worry, would be read by those people in Hobart and in the federal government. And I could bet money now, I haven't seen the first cut of our budget, but I'd be very disappointed perhaps if we haven't got our hand up for a grant in some form, either for our childcare centre start or another addition to our sporting precincts. And the way this is played out in that social media, we just need to be very, very careful, because that's where all our money comes from and all our projects. So you need to think about that when you're shooting off out in the community about what you want to do, what you want to say and what you want. And why this council cannot understand, and we've had it, I don't know, quite a few years in a row, this redacted information that you want to read. And it's been said anyway prior to me, the biggest percentage of it is commercial in confidence, which is not permitted in the community environment for obvious reasons. Just get that through your head. It's simple. And there's no way known you can ask till you're blue in the face, and you won't get all those redacted things moved. Now, the other very important point that I'd make, I've missed only a couple of meetings, but we have, and I'd bash this point home in this room, we have not had one person come to that lectern there and make a complaint about Basling or the transmission lines or the bad treatment apparently by all the landowners. Not one, not one. It's nearly empty, nearly every night. And the same thing happened a few years ago. I think it turned out we had a community of one. A community of one he turned out to be when he made all these complaints. So if you've got a complaint, come forward. We'll hear it and we'll deal with it. But until you do, it's business as usual for me.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. If there are no more speakers, Councillor Courtney, I'd like you to sum up briefly, please.
Yeah, I will sum up pretty briefly. So what I've heard tonight as a justification for saying, no, we don't want to ask for the full business case and we don't want to ask for oversight. The justifications are that it's commercial in confidence. Well, we both know that that's a pretty low bar. All they've got to do is say commercial in confidence and it can get redacted. So there's no independent oversight. There's no scrutiny of that. It goes on behind closed doors. So when a 400-page business case is cut down to 25 pages, that's not commercial in confidence. That's hiding things behind commercial in confidence, because the framework about that is whoever decides that it's commercial in confidence. You and I both know that somebody can come to us and say, I want this commercial in confidence, and we have to discuss it in the closed room. Now, whether it should be or not, that's a whole different story. So I'm not going to let it rest on that. I think that's a bollocks argument. Another argument is that we shouldn't be telling the government what to do, but we should be questioning the government, and that's what we're doing. We're not telling them what to do.
I was hoping for you to do that if you would.
Councillor
But we're not telling them what to do.
Councillor Courtney, would you please?
We're saying, prove your business case because you're telling us that it's there, so show us. Or give it the independent oversight that it should have had in the first place. So we're not saying go ahead with the project, don't go ahead with the project. What we're saying is we want good governance and transparency. Do we not want that? Do we just want to trust our state and our federal governments to look after our residents? Because I think that's our job. Because they're not looking after our residents. We've got one of the highest poverties in the nation. We've got the highest suicide rates, the worst literacy. So don't tell me the state and federal government are looking after our municipality. That is our job as stewards of this area. The idea that, oh, well, it's being scrutinised by the MLCs and the Joint Selection Committee, well, they're screaming from the rooftops that it should be made public. They're saying there should be scrutiny because the electricity prices are going to go up and we're being given information that might not be accurate moving into the future. So it's reasonable for us to say, we are asking a question of you. We are asking for good governance and transparency from you. We're not telling them what to do. We're not telling them to end the project. We're saying if the business case is there, show us. Don't hide it behind commercial in confidence because you can redact 375 pages by just saying commercial in confidence. If the business case is there, show us. If the project is going to be able to, stand on its own 2 feet, well, allow the oversight. What's the problem? I don't understand why it's being made out that this motion will do more than just say, well, you said you'd give us the unredacted report and you didn't. It's a project of state significance and it's not. So the premises of the arguments tonight are just that they're not relevant to the motion that is in front of you. The motion that is in front of you is to require good governance and to say we can't question the state government and we can't question the federal government. That's our job. If you just want to sit here and be noddies and go whatever they tell us must be true, well, that's okay, you guys can do that. But obviously that's not what I'm going to do. So you vote however you want on it tonight, but be clear, what you're saying to your ratepayers is there's a lot of reports out there suggesting our electricity prices are about to go through the roof because of this project, and we don't want all the information, we don't need it, we're just going to trust the government because that's what your vote's going to be tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. I will just at this point advise that Ruth Forrest MLC did state that she's on the committee that has, on the Oversight Committee, and that the document, the redacted document, it is obviously causing concern, but on her recommendation that it should not be shared because of commercial in confidence. And I'm going to say that I would take Ruth Forrest MLC's words as probably the best indication as to that document.
But point of order, anything can be put under commercial in confidence and she has to abide by it. So whether she agrees that it should be...
I'm not accepting your point of order at this point.
I closed the motion and then you went on to say let's bring up Ruth's letter.
You did not close the motion. I just simply added something.
I did close the motion.
I added something before I asked for the vote, and I'm entitled to do that as chair. So if you feel that I've done the wrong thing, then
I feel like you could have spoke on the motion rather than waiting after I closed.
I have allowed everyone else to speak and I have spoken. Thank you.
But point of order.
Thank you.
But point of order, you speak during the motion, not after I've closed.
Can we just put the motion, please?
Yes, I will put the motion. Thank you very much. I'm going to call for a division this evening. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. Councillor Courtney and Councillor Roberts. Those against, please raise your hands. Deputy Mayor Edwards, Councillor Bramage, Councillor Hyland, Councillor Johnson and myself, and the motion is lost. Right, moving on to 8.2, Councillor Courtney, advocacy for Waratah Wynyard as a pilot site for the Guaranteed Living Income program. The motion before you, councillors, is the council acknowledges the significant socio-economic challenges facing the Waratah Wynyard municipality, including median incomes and welfare dependency rates that sit well below national averages, as highlighted in the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA LGA profile. Notes with concern the accelerating impact of artificial intelligence on the Australian workforce, which has already resulted in significant redundancies across the technology and service sectors in early 2026. Directs the Chief Executive Officer to begin conversations with the Tasmanian Department of State Growth and the Federal Minister for Social Services, proposing Waratah Wynyard as a primary pilot site for a guaranteed living income trial. Collaborate with organisations such as TASCOS and the University of Tasmania, UTAS, to design a pilot framework that elevates how a living income can mitigate poverty, support workforce transitions during AI disruption and stimulate our local economy. The motion is put by Councillor Courtney. Could I have a seconder, please, for that motion? Councillor Courtney moved, and the seconder is Councillor Roberts. Councillor Courtney, please open the debate.
So this motion is to have a conversation. I'm going to put that at the outset. So I'm not requesting that we provide the living income. I'm not providing that we manage the project. I'm not even asking that council resources put towards the administration of the project. This motion is, can we have a conversation that may lift our area out of poverty? We are one of the most disadvantaged electorates in Australia. We have high rates of poor mental health, depression, stress, anxiety, loneliness, all measures of happiness. So our area largely has high rates of illiteracy and lives in poverty. A living income is something that has to start having a discussion in Australia. Now, the tech oligarchs in America have already said this discussion needs to take place in America. I don't want to be behind the 8 ball here in Australia. We've already had redundancies from AI. The expectation over the next 5 years is that 30 to 50% of white collar jobs and manufacturing jobs, mining jobs and farming jobs will be replaced by AI. The robots that they're already making can mimic human behaviour and would be a lot safer on work sites than what humans would. So the transition to AI isn't something that's futuristic, it's something that is currently happening, and I think that we need to prepare for the fact that when we have a lot of customer service roles, white collar roles, mining and agriculture in our municipality, we're going to be one of the worst hit when that eventually comes here, and that's going to be over the next probably 3 to 7 years. So the idea that we're not going to have a conversation, or we're not going to vote to have a conversation that might lift us out of poverty, for me is just mind-boggling. The massive disruption due to tech is inevitable. We need to build public engagement and have an evidence-based study in Australia to prepare the ground for the acceptance of the idea at a national level. And what better place to do it than in one of the poorest areas in Australia? In Finland, because I want to be clear here, the failure of projects is based on economics. The idea that we don't have enough, I think, is a stupid argument. We are a resource-rich nation. We don't tax our resources properly. but we could actually have living income. There is potential there to do that. We do have that kind of wealth. We just don't distribute it properly at the moment. In Finland, the study has shown that people receiving a basic living income report better all-over health, physical health, mental health, lower levels of stress, lower levels of depression, lower levels of sadness, and lower levels of loneliness. These are all major determinants of happiness. So having a living income will help all of those things for our residents, and that is about community wellbeing. There are poor mental incomes in areas of high poverty, and we have some of the highest rates of poverty. So we have higher domestic violence rates, we have higher suicide rates, all linked to poverty. In Australia, we have 142 to 175 psychologists per 100,000 people. Here, we have 32 to 40 per 100,000 people. So our residents are struggling at a much higher rate, and they get much less support than what is offered on a national level. The Finland study also showed that people that were putting on living income, 83% of them, after being put on a living income, were free of mental health issues. So that's a lower cost on the health department, the mental health department, and all the services. So it saves money. 58% had improved physical health, which dropped the attendances at the local hospitals and local healthcare clinics and local GPs. So it saves money on health. 3 to 9% that were registered on the living income actually registered as working more days than those that were on just a normal unemployment income. So there is studies that are proving that people on a living income are more likely to engage in work than people that are on an unemployment income. So that can actually increase our job participation. So let's look at what we've got so far. We can save costs on the hospitals, we can save costs on the judicial system, we'll have lower rates of domestic violence, we'll have lower rates of depression and stress, which saves money on mental health. So we've saved a crap load. There's also frameworks that cost money under Centrelink to manage, like job providers and everything else that comes with being on Centrelink. If it's a living basic income and there are no requirements, well, all that administrative cost, once again, is money saved. So that negates the issue that we can't afford it, because not only can we afford it, but there are massive cost savings to be made if we unroll the project. Now I'll come back to the fact that AI, the tech disruption, has begun. If we aren't prepared for it, how many people will be made redundant in this area over the next 5 to 10 years that will then increase the reliance on mental health services, on the health services, on the job providers? We won't have the infrastructure in place to be able to help the mental wellbeing of our community, and that is our role as caretakers. So what I want you to remember at the end of this motion tonight is that I'm not asking any of you to pay for it, I'm not asking for us to pay for it, I'm not asking for us to administrate it. What I'm asking for is, can we have a conversation that might lift our electorate out of poverty, which will save money on health, money on judicial services, lower our rates of suicide and lower our rates of domestic violence. Because if that is not about community wellbeing, I don't know what is. And this is simply a vote for a conversation. So if you want to vote against having a conversation that might lift our area out of poverty, once again, I'll let you vote on your own merits tonight, and I'm sure the people of the municipality will make their own judgments at the end of the motion. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Councillor Roberts.
Look, I just actually want to acknowledge the motion piece by piece, actually, and I think, the first part of the motion acknowledges the significant socio-economic challenges facing the Waratah Wynyard municipality, including median incomes and welfare dependency rates that sit well below national averages, as highlighted in the National Emergency Management Agency LGA profile, is something that we should be doing already. We definitely need to be highlighting the fact that people don't realise this, but the average median income in Waratah Wynyard is about $26,000, which is far below the national average of about $89,000, and makes us the poorest electorate in Tasmania. So when you look in our region, in comparison to many other regions, I think you can see our community spirit here, that it does not seem to be a place that is living in abject poverty. But once you sort of look behind the curtain, you'll see that there's a lot of people that are actually homeless at present. They're suffering. You know, a lot of people on welfare. We have the number one teen pregnancy rate. We have the number one rate of unemployment. We have the number one rate of teen suicide. We have the number one rate of suicide, depression. I think if there was ever an area in Tasmania outside of the regional areas on country, on the mainland, that this would be the ideal pilot site for any kind of program to do with universal basic income. So that's the first one. Two is notes with concern the accelerating impact of artificial intelligence on the Australian workforce, which has already resulted in significant redundancies across the technology and services sectors in early 26. Now, this is also a worldwide issue that is facing, most Western countries, obviously with the rate of technology and technological advancement. That I think with the rate of AI, that we think of this as potentially decades away, whereas this could potentially be months away, which is very concerning. You know, the way the world's global blockchain works and the world economy works is that basically it's on ledgers. You know, it's the same as with the power I was talking about before, is it's about what goes in and what goes out, not necessarily what is necessary. So I do feel that a lot of the jobs that we hold around here, a lot of the entry-level jobs where people get started in their career will soon be replaced with technology. And I find that we really need to be getting that across to people, that we have concern about those entry-level jobs in our region because our constituents fill so many of them. Now, the third one about directs the Chief Executive Officer to begin conversations with the Tasmanian Department of State Growth. Now, I don't necessarily believe that I should be directing the Chief Executive Officer to do anything as pertaining to the operations of her job, but I do actually understand the importance of our discussions with, say, the Cradle Coastal Authority and the state government and potentially the federal government around possibilities and potential for programs such as these in our region. And fourth, to collaborate with organisations such as TASCOS and the University of Tasmania to design a pilot framework. Now, I'll keep going with that, but I just want to state that, you know, I do support LiveWell's mission in regards to the basic income, and I do think they're doing great work, and we did discuss as councillors in our workshop that we should be supporting all community groups, all individuals, anyone, all regional agencies that are actually working towards this. And I believe truly that we should support everyone's endeavours to look out for our economy, and including Councillor Courtney tonight, which is why I will be supporting this, as is our discussion that we had in private at our workshop. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers, please?
Yes, if I may, Madam Chair. Yeah, well, the motion as it is in 4 dot points, there's not one item there that actually asks, can we have a conversation? And as Councillor Roberts alluded to, dot point 3 directs the Chief Executive. Well, anything direction given, there will be a cost. I'm hoping that our staff don't work for free. Councillor Courtney, you're very passionate about this. I'm just wondering why that you can't pull a group of people around you to get it started, like they have across the road. Put a bit of legwork in and get it started. You might get some people to jump on board at that stage. That's only my thought, and I've probably said that before, but LiveWell have done a magnificent job with what they've started. They're still in talking to the federal government in regards to a large amount of money so they can continue the community-based income where people do community work and get an extra handout with no strings attached at all, no strings attached. They've already had some seeding money 18 months ago. They employed 4 young people from around the area for a 12-month period, and they do the garden at the farm. They've got all the stuff over the road, and if you actually found out the actual community activities that go on in that building just over the road, is tremendous what they're actually doing for our community. So, yeah, sorry, can't support it. It's like most things, get in and have a go and get something started, and people may follow.
Thank you, Councillor Hyland. Deputy Mayor Edwards.
This is the third time this has come to council. The guaranteed living income is another name for universal based income. We had it in December 23, March 24, and tonight. Those I've spoken with in the community, this doesn't sit well with them, and to give out is their comments, to give out with no return. I will look at this from a different way. I've come from a low socio-economic family. I have grown up in a split family, and I have gone to 8 different schools. And I've gone through hard times, and I myself have worked damn hard and taken many knocks time and time again. We need to build resilient communities. That is a hand up, not a handout. It is equipping communities with tools, knowledge, education, support, mentally and physically, to stand alongside them as they gain those tools. This is federal. We already have an organisation in our municipal area that are exploring a participation income model. I would believe they would not do another pilot in this space or area when there is one already actively happening in our area, municipal area.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Are there any further speakers to the motion? Councillor Bramich.
Thank you. Look, you're really passionate what you do. I really appreciate that. But we've got a scheme going with Living Well. Or we haven't, they've got one going. What you're proposing is bigger than us, bigger than the region. It's a Tasmanian state issue. All right, so we're doing a tough here, but they're doing a tough in Penguin, they're doing a tough at New Norfolk as well. Why don't you try and get together and put a motion to LGAT at the conference, or get the Cradle Coast to get on board with all the councils and get something that way, rather than just single us out to do a pilot scheme. And Councillor is right, there won't be one done, I wouldn't have think, when Living Well's doing what they're doing. We heard from Councillor Aurora other night at the workshop where you're more than welcome to go there and put your case forward there, and they're working with us probably. But as it is, I can't support it, but I congratulate you for being passionate about it. And as I say, it's 3 times now it's been before council. You've got to take them, if you want to serious about it, which I think you are, you got to take the next step. Find a group or find someone to go to the LGAT conference with a motion, to Cradle Coast Authority as a regent, or go to Living Well yourself and say, well, can I sit on your committee, and we'll try and get something together.
Thank you, Councillor Bramich.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the motion. Reason the conversation, as Councillor Courtney said, conversations that we need to have, they're already being had. People that Live Well and all the other groups have got the wheels in motion with these conversations. So I don't think as a group we need to have them. So I'm not going to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. And Councillor Courtney, you have suggested that we collaborate with TASCOS. I suggest that you contact Adrian Picconi, the current CEO of TASCOS, or Paula Reet, who will be TASCOS CEO early in June, to determine if there is support for a project that you are suggesting may mitigate poverty in our region. Would you like to close the debate, please?
I would absolutely like to close the debate. So let's be clear. We're going to vote against having a conversation that will lift our area out of poverty. I acknowledge that you might have people saying to you that this is the third time it's come back. Why are we doing this? Equally, I have people coming to me and saying, why are the other councillors voting no? Now, the first time the motion was put up, I put it up so we could have the discussion, and everybody said, no, we can't have the conversation. But Councillor Roy asked me behind closed doors that there be a 25-hour or a minimum participation rate. I amended my motion. I brought it back to council to meet what I was asked to meet by yourself and Councillor Roy. You still voted against it. So you still decided, no, we should just leave them in poverty and not even have the conversation. The idea that we can't lift our people out of poverty because Live Well have got 4 participants over here on their trial, I don't even understand how you can use that as a motion. A small community project has a small group of people that if those people move out of the area or they pop off their perch, well, that project quite often falls over. So that's a short-term project that's only going to be successful if those people are still there. That doesn't guarantee an ongoing lift of our people out of poverty because we're doing a project with 4 people. I did think it was 2. I think the funding got stripped from 2 of them, but if it's gone back up to 4, then I stand corrected. The advantage that we have is that we are one of the poorest electorates in the nation. We are the poorest in Tasmania and we have TASCOS. So we are one of the most perfect pilot sites to introduce a living income to prepare for the redundancies that are going to come from an AI revolution. I don't understand how we are in the best position to have this as a successful project because we have the uni, we have TASCOS, we're a poor community, we can show the definite, positive results that if we do this and we prove that our costs in the judicial system go down, our suicide rates go down, our depression goes down, we are an ideal community to be able to prove the merits of this project. So I find it hard to understand why, once again, we're saying, let's not even have this discussion. Let's not even contact these people and have this discussion. Because I understand that, you've changed schools and all those sorts of things, but I was actually homeless. So I've actually dealt with poverty. I've had domestic violence. I've had PTSD, depression, anxiety. I've had all the things that come with being poor. So I understand what it's like to be in fight or flight, in survival mode all the time and what that does to your physical health. What I'm asking is that we try and lift our people out of that because we can sit around this table and we're all right, but the majority of our municipality are not. The majority of our municipality are in poverty. So do we help them? Do we say that we'll have a conversation that might help you out of poverty so that we can lower the costs on the health system, we can lower the cost on the social support systems, we can lower the cost on the judicial systems, we can have less suicides of our kids? Do we honestly sit here and say, no, we're not even going to have that conversation because Live Well exists or because I don't think we should have that conversation outside of Cradle Coast Authority? Well, they're not putting forward the idea. They're not going to help our area out of poverty. They've got 9 councils to worry about. It's okay to say, why don't you go and set up your own project? But that's just a deflection from the fact that all we're asking for is to have a conversation and lift people out of poverty.
No, show a bit of leadership and do it.
Thank you.
Well, point of order.
I accept that, if you would continue.
What I'm doing is showing leadership. I'm saying I know we're in poverty and I want to help our people out of poverty. What you're doing is not showing leadership. You're saying, I'm all right, so that's not important to me. If that's how you want to vote, because you're all right, well, that's okay, you vote like that. But there's like nearly 2/3 of our community that are not all right.
Point of order. Come on. Can't call it bullshit, can we?
If you want to tell all those people that I'm not going to vote to have a conversation, that I'm happy to leave you all in poverty, then again,
Can I just stop you there? Your point of order was for what, please?
Just mouthing off, calling it bullshit.
Yeah, I
Alright?
apologise for that.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Because I did not hear it, but
I
just
did.
please
Thank you.
speak respectfully.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
was said live
Thank
for a
you.
reason, Mayor, you see. So at least have merit, please.
If you would allow me to continue as
Thank you.
chair, I would
Thank you.
appreciate it. Councillor Courtney.
So I'm just going to close with, I have been on that side of the poverty line. I know Councillor Roberts, you've been on that side of the poverty line, and that's probably why we're the two people saying let's first and second the motion. Because we've been there, and we don't want other people in our municipality to be living there. So that's what I'm asking. Let's just talk to TASCOS. Let's just talk to them and say, can we lift our area out of poverty by contacting our federal member and saying, would you consider a pilot here because we are one of the worst disadvantaged in our state? If you want to say no to that's fine, that's your vote, but that's what you're saying no to. Let's just be clear about that.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. I'm now going to put the motion for the vote. I'll call for a division. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. Councillor Courtney and Councillor Roberts. Those against the motion, Deputy Mayor Edwards, Councillor Bramage, Councillor Hyland, Councillor Johnson and myself. The motion is lost. Councillor Edwards, National Road Safety Week. You have a motion before the council. The council recognises National Road Safety Week, held annually in May, as an opportunity to promote safe road use, increase community awareness and support initiatives aimed at reducing road trauma across the Waratah Wynyard municipality. Includes an appropriate road safety awareness activity or event within Council's community events calendar each year to coincide with National Road Safety Week. Provides for a modest additional allocation within the annual operating budget to support delivery of a Road Safety Week initiative with an indicative funding range of $500 to $2,500 per annum to be considered as part of the annual budget process, and encourages collaboration with relevant stakeholders including schools, community organisations, emergency services and road safety partners to deliver meaningful and engaging activities. So, Deputy Mayor Edwards, you have moved the motion. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Bramage has seconded. Deputy Mayor Edwards, would you open the debate, please?
Yes. So I put this motion up. This motion is to strengthen and action our advocacy for road safety awareness across our community. This motion builds on physically from our memorandum of understanding with the Sarah Group, Safer Australian Roads and Highways. This is part one of a motion. I'll bring part two to build onto this motion in a month or two. With Road Safety Week, we need to all collectively work together to educate, bring awareness, remembrance and prevention. The motion I put before you is 1, recognise Road Safety Week, promote safe road use, community awareness, support initiatives aimed at reducing road trauma, activity or event to be added to the council's annual calendar each year, and with a small operating budget to help with the delivery and collaboration with other stakeholders. Last year, council helped host a road safety awareness event, walk through some funding that we got through Road Safety Week, somewhere anyway. It was well attended, and we had people asking again if it was going to happen or how it went and everything. I think it helped people open up about their own trauma. And I think, for me, our life's journey shapes us. We can either stay stuck, keep looking back, or we can move forward and use our experiences for positiveness. What was and still is so sucky, and I'm not apologising for that language, and living with the devastation of losing our daughter Macy every day through her car crash, I can use my position within our community, region, state as best as I can and bring my raw living experience of the ripple effect and hopefully bring an added level of awareness, preventing, reducing road crash trauma. I ask you all to please support this important, valuable motion. And to those sitting in the gallery, please take a look at the framed lived experience stories on your way out on the left-hand side as you go towards the elevator. And that will just show you the impact of what road crash trauma does and why we need to bring this to our communities.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Are there any speakers against this motion?
Gary's got the right to speak.
Oh, sorry, done it again. Your turn, thanks, Councillor Ramage.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I will support this motion. I was a little bit involved in it last year, just a little bit. I had this councillor come up to me and asked him, would I go to the wreckers and pick up a bonnet? Would I go to the wreckers and pick up a door? I thought, what are you bloody on about? So I did. I had them tied on the front of my tractor. We had them stacked along the foreshore. And then we had a little conversation, I suppose it would be, in front of the yacht club. People made a few speeches and talking to different people. I finished up getting a tear in my eye when I heard about some of their stories that I wasn't aware of from people I thought I knew fairly well. How they'd had a son get killed, or in Celisa's case, a poor daughter get killed or die from a road accident. It does hit home. And I'll tell you what, it makes you think when you get in behind the wheel of the motor vehicle. It does what some people have gone through. And I think if we can make people aware of this, we're doing a bit of our job. So good luck, and I support your motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ramage. Are there any speakers against the motion? Speakers for the motion, Councillor Roberts.
I just want to credit the council here as well on top of this motion with the work that's been done, especially by you, Councillor Ramage, lowering the speed limits in the surrounding areas. Also, a lot of the traffic impact assessments that we've done, whilst we might not have closed certain streets or changed certain speed limits yet, we have put in a mountain of work behind the scenes, gathering the required data and information to see exactly which areas are probably too quick, which are too slow, and which need blocking off in general, which intersections have not got clear views, etc. Like Deputy Mayor Edwards, my family's also had a lot of very unfortunate road accidents, including losing my uncles 17 days apart in motorbike accidents. One of my best friends on earth passed away in a motorbike accident as well, and I lost a person that is very much a nephew to me in a car accident a couple of years ago as well, and I understand very much. And again, this shows the power of council and our ability to socially advocate for things that are really important, such as road safety. And the work with the Sarah Group, Mr. Fraser is actually, really leading locally. We're one of about 3 or 4 councils in Tasmania that are members of the Sarah Group, and I hope the other 25 or 26 get on board as well. I understand my Deputy Mayor Edwards is so passionate about this, and I think it's great service to our community, and every piece of awareness that we raise will hopefully save a life. So I fully and wholeheartedly support this motion, and I genuinely wish you the best with it, and I especially agree that it'd be great to put it as a part of our events on our calendar, and also to be able to provide funding to those that are doing projects associated with road safety and Road Safety Week. So thank you very much for bringing this motion forward, Deputy Mayor Edwards, and it shall have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any speakers against the motion? Councillor Johnson.
I'll be speaking for the motion, and excuse me, to piggyback on Councillor Ramage's words there. I was fortunate enough to go on the walk last year, and even listening to the speeches there before from the first respondents, the SES guys and police or whatever, it was just pretty powerful and uplifting just to hear the words and to hear the speakers with the lump in their throat on what they've witnessed and seen. So thoroughly going to support this motion, and good on you for bringing the motion forward. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson. Are there any further speakers to this motion? I thank you also, Councillor Edwards, for presenting this motion. It is a well-rounded motion, and we'll see how the vote goes. I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 9, reports of officers and committees. 9.1, Frenchs Road Nature Reserve Management Plan. The recommendation is that Council adopts the Frenchs Road Nature Reserve Management Plan 2026 to 2035, sorry. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Roberts.
Yeah, I'll second that.
And Councillor Bramage seconded. Councillor Roberts, would you please open the debate?
Look, I just actually really quickly here, of course we've passed this, it's our own plan, we want to adopt it. Just really quickly, I just genuinely really want to give a lot of credit to the volunteers at Frenchs Road Reserve over the years. We've watched it transform into what it is today. And a special shout out to, I really want to give a lot of credit here, as we've got our new 9-year plan in place, to Council's former Community Development Officer, Richard Mills-Wilson. I know Richard put a lot of work in towards Frenchs Road Reserve and actually spent a lot of effort towards Frenchs Road Reserve. So I just want to give a shout out to the volunteers over the years, and also Richard for the work that's been done out there, and hopefully we can safeguard it as well going into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 9.2, Draft Camp Creek Master Plan 2026 for public consultation. The recommendation is the Council approves the release of the Draft Camp Creek Master Plan for public consultation, and that feedback be considered prior to finalising the master plan. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Roberts has moved. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyland. Councillor Roberts, would you like to open the debate?
Just to say real quickly that this has been a discussion point for a lot of years around council, and I know there's been a lot of work down at the estuary and different things, and removal of some trees and placement of some the pause place, etc. next door, and just we're really looking forward to hearing what the public has to say about the works that's happened down there, say over the last 5 or 6 years, and really looking forward to reading the feedback. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.3 is Wynyard Sports Precinct Indoor Stadium Expansion Request. The recommendation is that Council notes the request made by representatives of Wynyard Basketball Association, Wynyard Pickleball and Wynyard Netball to upgrade the Wynyard Indoor Stadium by adding an additional multi-use indoor court suitable for use by all 3 clubs. In the 2026-27 annual plan of budget estimates include the scoping and data gathering required for a future review of the Open Space Sport and Recreation Plan 2017 to 2027, with this request to be considered as part of the broader review process.
So moved.
Beg your pardon?
So moved.
Oh, thank you. You are moving. Thank you, Councillor Courtney. And seconded, Councillor Roberts. Could I ask that you open the debate, please, Councillor Courtney?
I'm just glad that we're having this motion, because I think that the presentation from the Wynyard Basketball Association highlighted something that we need to actually consider moving forward, and I'm glad that we're bringing it back to the table instead of just saying no, because I think there's some really valid points were made about the Wynyard precinct being so close to so many schools and being such a feeding for our students here, and that I think this is a good decision.
Are there any further speakers to this motion? Yes.
Well, just again, following up on this, I want to note that this is just a noting that they have put in this request. But I would genuinely like to credit Wynyard Basketball Association for the presentation they did make, the passion that they have for this project as well, and to see it going. I also want to credit Mary Aitken with Wynyard Netball, which has grown so massively in the last half a decade. It's been from nothing to something huge is a great achievement. And also, I really want to state that during this term of council, one of the groups that I have been most impressed by is Wynyard Pickleball Association. I think Wynyard Pickleball Association has done a tremendous job with everything they've done in relation to council, the way they've presented themselves, the way they've presented things to council, the way they filled up the gallery to let us know the demand for what they want, and also the way that they've just been so negotiable and to work with others in different groups, whether it be tennis, basketball, netball, etc. I genuinely hope that pickleball gets what it needs, because they have done a tremendous job actually presenting their case to us over the last 4 years I've been on council, and they've just done an exceptional job. So I want to shout out the whole of the Pickleball Association as well for the job they have done. Thank you.
Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers for this motion? Speakers against the motion? If there are no further speakers, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 9.4, Community and Engagement Quarterly Report. The recommendation is that Council notes the quarterly information report for the Community and Engagement Directorate. Councillor Roberts has moved.
Second.
Councillor Courtney has seconded. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this
I
motion?
say the same thing every single time. I cannot recommend the public enough to read these. The information, the photographs, the progress updates, everything, the reports are absolutely tremendous. I credit the staff at council that put them together, and I really hope that the public actually read these and have a greater understanding of what's going on at council. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers for this motion? Against this motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 9.5, Gone Nuts Event Report 2026. The recommendation before you, councillors, is that council notes the successful delivery of the 2026 Gone Nuts event activation, including the positive outcomes achieved in community engagement, visitation and local economic activity, and continues discussions with the event organiser regarding council's potential support for the 2027 Nuts event, including consideration of a scaled activation aligned with budget and operational requirements.
So moved.
Councillor Courtney moved. Can I have and Councillor Johnson seconded. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to speak to
No, I
this?
love that everybody wants to pass the motion though, because it's such a great event. I think that everybody here can speak on the success of the event in the past, and obviously is already ready to support the event of the future.
Thank you, Councillor Courtney. Any further speakers?
Yeah,
Councillor Johnson.
Just a fantastic, it's putting Little Wynyard on the map internationally as well, with the response that we're getting for international runners and that, and just to come and see our little patch is absolutely fantastic. And yes, we hope they just keep on going for a lot more years yet. So thank you.
I have been told that they don't even advertise anymore,
No.
so they get sufficient competitors to come from all over Australia and overseas. So it's a great event. Very hard event, I think I've been told by one of our staff.
I just, one more comment, if I may. Just to say, everyone that's involved with Gone Nuts, it's such a big operation. Obviously, there's a lot of volunteers, a lot of people that come on board, but I just want to give special credit to Michael Phillips, who came here and presented his case about Gone Nuts, and it was a very compelling case, and just to see the success of this event is just incredible. And I feel like I'm saying this over and over again, but it just shows in that last 10 years, 10 years, the amount of different events and projects that have taken off in this region that are now fully established events. And it goes to show how quick things can turn around and how quick you can get successful programs going. So credit to them.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Ramage, you are entering in 2027?
If you allow me, I've got it on the radar. Now, this event has really gone nuts, hasn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage. You're absolutely spot on. If there are no further speakers, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.6. Adoption of the Rural Road Safety Audit. The recommendation is that Council notes the Rural Road Network Road Safety Audit, November 2025, prepared by HDS Australia, and adopts the recommendations of the Rural Road Network Road Safety Audit, November 2025, for future project planning and deliberation via the Transport Asset Management Plan and Strategic Asset Management Plan, and notes the assessment of section 2.7 of the difficulty in providing a pedestrian crossing point to facilitate access to the coastal pathway at a location on the Bass Highway between Mackenzie Drive and Lion Street, Somerset. Could I have a mover for that motion? Deputy Mayor Edwards. And seconded Councillor Roberts. Deputy Mayor Edwards, would you like to open this discussion, please?
Yeah. The rural safety audit identified 362 potential hazards and classed that are in hierarchy order. A question that I have, the audit findings have increased from the 2019 audit. Is this because the standard and guidelines are becoming stronger?
Through you, Mayor, yes, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah. And another question on page 90, I think it should show on yours. Could you explain local area knowledge? Is that as a driver or is that as a council body operation works team for that area? It's just above the grid or whatever it is. Should be there somewhere.
What page, please?
90.
90.
Yeah, thanks through you, Mayor. I believe it's a reference in the report itself to do with implementing findings. The assessors have done so based on slow drive-bys. I guess they're referencing that people within council may have some understanding of some of the other difficulties to consider there as well. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, and thank you for those questions. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? Councillor Bramage?
Thank you.
It's fine.
Okay, Councillor Bramage.
Sorry,
No, Councillor Bramage, please go ahead.
the pedestrian access on the walking track, I guess is, will that come at a cost to us, or will the state government foot the bill on that?
Through you, Mayor, at the moment there's no forward program to provide one by either authority. To do so would require approval by DSG, which they haven't given to date. And we asked the report writers to assess that, given they were looking at other parts of the road network. That they've highlighted it's incredibly difficult to do so. They haven't ruled it out completely, but they've said it would take considerable effort to get an approval. So, yeah.
Is this the time or not the time? Through you, Mayor, I'll follow the Director of the Engineering lead on this. Is this a time that we go to the state government and saying, look, we're getting requests after requests about the speed limits on our country roads, that we probably go through most of them and reduce them from 100 down to 80?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, look, absolutely findings in this report are evidence for our own road network, and I'm sure other local councils will have, if not similar evidence-based reports, other reports to support that. We talked earlier in a previous notice of motion around the Sarah group and advocacy from Peter Fraser, who himself is a previous senior engineer at state level, I believe, in another state. One of the services from that MOU is that he would advocate on this council or any other council's behalf to bodies like DSG for things like that. So there are multiple ways that could be approached.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any further speakers to this motion, please? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 9.7, Old Bass Highway speed limit reduction. The recommendation is that council notes the direction letter received from the Transport Commissioner and proceeds with works to reduce the speed limit along the Old Bass Highway between Dart Street and Bass Highway at Doctors Rocks from 70 to 60 kilometres an hour as approved by the Transport Commissioner. Councillor Johnson, you are moving that motion, seconded. Councillor Roberts. Councillor Johnson, would you like to speak to this motion, please?
Great innovation with the high traffic flow now with the coastal pathway and volume of cars getting in that area now. It's just it's a so safe thing that it's going to be happening. So I'm really happy, and now we can, once we can get this one through, Councillor Bramage, we might be able to work on the rural stuff too. I think it's a big concern from everyone. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Roberts, you wish to speak to this,
I was
please?
just going to say, we've actually been doing it for years, lowering the speed limits on the rural roads. We've been strategically going around and doing traffic impact assessments, and so whilst this isn't technically a part of the rural roads because of the new developments out there, it was put to council and it was voted that we do put it to the Transport Commissioner. Obviously they've returned the letter and we can now commence work. So as is with the previous vote, I will be voting with this because that is what the council decided as a group last time. So.
Thank you. Councillor Bramage,
I just wanted to say well done, Councillor Johnson, for bringing this to our attention. And I guess probably as ratepayers, councillors, or whatever you want to call us, driving on it, we probably don't know as much as people living on it. Yeah, so well done.
Thank you, Councillor Bramage. Are there any further speakers to this motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 9.8, Stormwater System Management Plan, Big Creek Flood Mitigation Update. The recommendation is that Council adopts the updated attached version of Council's Stormwater System Management Plan and progresses as it preferred Big Creek Flood Mitigation option, a voluntary negotiated purchase of 8 flood-impacted properties in Stanwin Court, subject to securing appropriate external grant funding and relevant permits. Moved. Councillor Courtney moved. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Roberts. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to open this debate, please?
I don't think there's debate on this one. I think we've discussed this in the workshops enough that everybody knows what page we're on, and this is the only choice really that's open to us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts.
To clarify for the public, around Big Creek down in Stanwin Court, it's a flood zone. There are 8 properties down in that zone. Council in good conscience cannot allow that to stay as the status quo. So it is the voluntary purchase of those properties and sale of those properties, provided we get the relevant funding from state or feds. So again, just know to property owners down there that we actually do care about their safety, and we've been looking at these things, and this is probably the most appropriate and almost only correct course of action.
Thank you. Are there any further speakers to this motion? Councillor Bramage.
Just briefly, Mayor, whether we like it or not, it's going to happen again, for sure. I don't know when, but it will.
Thank you. I'll put the motion as there are no further speakers. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.9, Waratah Wynyard Youth Leaders Guidelines. The recommendation is that Council approves the amendment of the Waratah Wynyard Youth Leaders Program eligibility criteria, reducing the age range from 14 to 24 years to 13 to 20 years, and endorses the update of all program documents accordingly. Could I have a mover for that? Councillor Roberts has moved. Councillor Courtney seconded. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Look, I would say, I was the former youth officer at this council for a period of time, and I think that this age demographic is more suited to the type of young leaders that we're looking for on our Waratah Wynyard youth leaders, and I definitely feel that it's appropriate to have this age demographic be the youth leaders. So I'm happy to support it and support our community department as they continue to work with young people in our region. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Courtney, do you wish to speak to this motion? Are there any further speakers to the motion? Are there any speakers against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.10, Senior Management Report. Recommendation that Council notes the Senior Management Report. Could I have a mover? Councillor Roberts. Councillor Johnson. Second. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Just to say that I would encourage all members of our public to read these reports, because all the information that you want to know about what we're up to is in these reports, and please, by all means, supervise us and hold us accountable, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers? Any speakers against this motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. 9.11, Financial Report for the period ended 31st of March 2026. The recommendation is that Council notes the Financial Report for the period ended 31st of March 2026. Could I please have a mover for that motion?
Second.
Councillor Courtney, seconded. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Just only to state that by law, our finances must be a matter of public record, which is coincidental and ironic, isn't it? So, look, just as they are legally have to be public, that it's great if our community members actually looked over our finances and made sure that we are also doing the appropriate things with ratepayer money. Of course we are, because we have the best finance guy in local government in Tasmania, Mr. Smith, who I appreciate greatly for all his efforts in keeping us solvent. So thank you very much, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any further speakers to this motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 9.12, minutes of other bodies. The minutes of Accessibility Working Group held the 25th of March 2026. The recommendation is that Council receives the notes from the Accessibility Working Group meeting held 25 March 2026. Could I please have a mover for that motion? Deputy Mayor Edwards. And who seconded? Sorry, Councillor Johnson. Deputy Mayor Edwards, do you wish to speak to this motion, please?
Yeah, all I want to say is this group is an asset to our Waratah Wynyard area. It strengthens the connection and continued engagement for our future planning for people with additional challenges, and help effectively communicate and plan this across the whole of the community.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Edwards. Any further speakers to this motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried unanimously. Item 10, matters proposed for consideration in the closed meeting. The recommendation that the Council resolves by an absolute majority that the matters listed below be considered in a closed meeting. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 11, closure of the meeting to the public. Recommendation that the Council resolves by an absolute majority that go into closed meeting to consider the following matters. Could I have a mover for that motion, please?
And second. Oh,
Sorry.
no, you're right.
Councillor Roberts moved and Councillor Bramich seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. And I close this meeting at 8:18.
It's you guys.